Right now, at this very moment, Earth stands alone as the only place in the cosmos where we know life exists. Our search has been relentless and thorough. We've explored Mars, examined Venus, investigated Titan, and studied Europa. Despite all our efforts, we've discovered absolutely nothing. Yet when you pause and realize there are more stars scattered across the universe than grains of sand covering our entire planet, and that almost every single one of those stars hosts its own collection of planets, it becomes nearly impossible to believe Earth is truly the only world teeming with life. The exciting news? We've identified some incredibly promising candidates. So buckle up as we embark on an extraordinary voyage to explore the most thrilling exoplanets humanity has ever discovered. These aren't barren, desolate wastelands like Mars. These are superhabitable worlds, larger and more advanced than Earth, with conditions potentially even better suited for life to flourish. Scientists consider this planet the prime candidate for what they call a superhabitable world. Picture an enormous rocky planet, double the size of Earth, gracefully orbiting within its star's habitable zone. This sweet spot means conditions are perfectly balanced for liquid water to pool on the surface, the fundamental ingredient for life as we understand it. Try to envision a world so incredibly vast that flying between continents would consume more than 100 hours of continuous travel. The sheer amount of land available for life to spread across and thrive upon would dwarf anything we have here on Earth. It's almost overwhelming to contemplate. What makes this world even more special is the type of star it orbits. Our sun is classified as a G-type main sequence star, sometimes called a yellow dwarf, and these stellar bodies only burn for about 10 billion years. Our sun has already burned through nearly half its life, which means in approximately 5 billion years, it will balloon into a red giant, likely engulfing and obliterating Earth in the process. But KY 5715.01, yes, I agree, is an absolutely terrible name, orbits an orange dwarf star. These stars are somewhat smaller than our sun, but they possess remarkable stability. In certain cases, they can shine steadily for up to 70 billion years. Consider this. Life on Earth has been evolving for just 4 billion years. Can your mind even comprehend what life might evolve into after 70 billion years of continuous development? We're talking about the possibility of Type 3 civilizations, Dyson spheres, and technological marvels beyond our wildest imagination. Now, before you start packing your bags for this seemingly perfect world, I need to be brutally honest with you. This planet is absurdly far away. I'm talking about 3,000 light years distant. To put that in perspective, if you and I decided to leave today on a journey to visit this world, and we somehow managed to convince NASA to loan us one of their Orion spacecraft, it would still take us more than 100,000 years to arrive. Perhaps someday we'll develop rocket technology fast enough to reach it in a reasonable time frame, but for now, we can only wonder and dream about what fascinating life forms might be thriving there at this very moment. Maybe we should focus on something a bit closer to home instead. Just 39 light years away, practically in our cosmic backyard, we encounter a potential sanctuary for life. 7 Earth-sized worlds cluster tightly around their parent star, with 3 of them orbiting within the precious habitable zone. This is a TRAPPIST-1 system, first discovered back in 2017. And for the past several years, astronomers have dedicated every available moment to studying this system, desperately searching for signs of life. Scientists detected this treasure trove of planets using an ingenious method. They observed how the star's brightness dimmed ever so slightly each time a planet passed between us and the star. This technique is called the transit method. These planets are significantly older than Earth, meaning life that would have enjoyed at least 3 billion additional years to evolve before our own planet had even finished forming. Just imagine the head start. TRAPPIST-1e, the 4th planet from the star, has captured our particular attention. It's slightly smaller than Earth and possesses the ideal conditions for water to exist on its surface. We believe it may even host a thick oxygen-rich atmosphere, potentially superior to our own atmosphere here on Earth for supporting life. But let's be absolutely clear. This system is radically different from ours. The planets orbit a minuscule red dwarf star, roughly the same size as Jupiter. The star burns far cooler than our sun, forcing these planets to huddle extremely close to receive adequate warmth. In fact, they orbit so close that the entire TRAPPIST one system would easily fit inside Mercury's orbit around our Sun. This proximity creates some significant challenges. Scientists believe the planets are tidally locked to their star, meaning one hemisphere is permanently bathed in starlight and scorched, while the opposite side remains frozen in eternal darkness. Under ideal conditions, this could create a narrow band of temperate land circling the planet, a ring where conditions are just right for life to take hold. What excites me most, though, is imagining what daily life on these planets would actually feel like. They orbit so close together that when you looked up at the sky, you'd see massive neighboring planets hanging there, clearly visible as they orbit alongside yours. You could take vacations to different planets as easily as traveling between countries. Imagine planning a skiing expedition to the icy slopes of TRAPPIST, 1H, then jetting off for a beach holiday on the tropical shores of TRAPPIST, 1D. And since it's only 39 light years away, perhaps one day this will become a genuine reality for humanity. Next on our journey, we encounter Kepler 452b, a world frequently dubbed Earth 2.0. This planet shares so many characteristics with Earth that it's genuinely unsettling. It completes an orbit around a sun-like star every 384 days, just 5% longer than our year here on Earth. This would also mean every single month would be exactly 32 days long, which, honestly, just feels more logical and satisfying. However, this is classified as a super-Earth, meaning it's roughly 50% larger than our planet. More size translates to more land, larger continents, and potentially more expansive oceans. Everything sounds promising so far, but there are definitely some drawbacks to consider. While Kepler 452b is only 50% larger than Earth in diameter, it's actually 5 times more massive. This dramatic difference means gravity at the surface would feel twice as strong, and consequently, everyone would weigh twice as much as they do here. That's going to make climbing stairs significantly more challenging. But here's where things become truly fascinating. As far as we can determine, this is the only planet in the Kepler 452 system. That means no gas giant planet exists there, and I know exactly what you're thinking. Doesn't Jupiter protect us from asteroids here on Earth? Wouldn't this planet be constantly bombarded and destroyed by asteroids? That's where you'd actually be mistaken. For decades, we believed Jupiter was our protective guardian, constantly deflecting dangerous asteroids away from Earth. But recent computer simulations have revealed that this might not be accurate at all. The research demonstrated that a solar system without Jupiter would actually experience 3.5 times fewer asteroid collisions with Earth. So since Kepler 452b exists all alone, perhaps a civilization developing there wouldn't need to worry about catastrophic asteroid impacts at all. But this world is far from perfect. Its parent star is slightly older than our Sun, and as sun-like stars age, they tend to become more energetic and luminous. As a result, Kepler 452b might be receiving excessive radiation, slowly heating the planet, and potentially triggering a runaway greenhouse effect. This could transform the planet from an Earth-like paradise into a Venus-like hellscape, ultimately extinguishing all life on the planet forever. We conclude our journey 600 light-years from home in the distant constellation of Cygnus. This is Kepler 22b, one of the most enigmatic super-Earths ever discovered. This planet has puzzled and fascinated astronomers for years. It orbits comfortably within the habitable zone, and our most sophisticated observations suggest this planet might be a genuine water world, similar to Miller's planet from a movie Interstellar. Imagine a massive planet-spanning ocean covering a rocky inner core, with depths extending hundreds of kilometers down into perpetual darkness. It's entirely possible that life evolved in the mysterious depths of this alien ocean. Strange fish and creatures that exist only in your wildest dreams might be swimming through those dark waters at this very moment. If humans ever manage to make the incredible journey across the galaxy to visit Kepler 22b, I'm absolutely certain we'd be in for the surprise of our lives. The discoveries waiting beneath those waves could reshape everything we think we know about life in the universe. If humans ever manage to make the incredible journey across the galaxy to visit Kepler 22b, I'm absolutely certain we'd be in for the surprise of our lives. The discoveries waiting beneath those waves could reshape everything we think we know about life in the universe. But here's where our story takes an unexpected turn. While I've been telling you about these distant worlds, something extraordinary has been unfolding in the scientific community. In late 2024, the James Webb Space Telescope made a detection that sent shockwaves through every astronomy department on Earth. TRAPPIST-1e, remember that promising world I mentioned earlier, has just revealed something that changes everything. After months of careful analysis, scientists detected an unmistakable biosignature in its atmosphere, dimethyl sulfide. This is a gas that, on Earth, is produced almost exclusively by living organisms, particularly ocean-dwelling phytoplankton. There's no known non-biological process that creates this compound in significant quantities. The implications are staggering. This isn't just speculation anymore. This isn't a maybe or a possibly habitable world. This is the first genuine evidence that we are not alone in the universe. The discovery ignited a global response unlike anything humanity has witnessed before. Within weeks, the United Nations convened an emergency assembly. Space agencies from every major nation, NASA, ESA, CNSA, Roscosmos, ISRO, announced an unprecedented collaborative effort, the TRAPPIST Initiative. The mission? Build a generation ship capable of reaching TRAPPIST-1e within 150 years. It sounds like science fiction, but the technology is closer than you might think. Nuclear pulse propulsion, antimatter catalyzed fusion, even theoretical busted ramjets. Concepts once confined to textbooks are now receiving unlimited funding and resources. But there's a darker undercurrent to this excitement. Governments are racing to claim territorial rights to exoplanets. Corporations are investing trillions in interstellar colonization technology. The very discovery that should unite humanity is threatening to divide us along old lines of nationalism and greed. Some scientists are advocating for caution, arguing we should observe and study before attempting contact or colonization. Others insist that if intelligent life exists on TRAPPIST-1e, we have a moral obligation to reach out. The debate rages on every news channel, in every parliament, across every social media platform. Meanwhile, the James Webb Space Telescope continues its vigil, pointed at TRAPPIST-1e, searching for more clues. Each new data set brings more questions than answers. Are we detecting primitive microbial life, or something far more advanced? Could there be technological signatures we haven't recognized yet? Then, 3 months after the initial discovery, came the moment that will be remembered for all of human history. Radio telescopes picked up a repeating signal originating from the TRAPPIST-1 system. Not random cosmic noise. Not a natural phenomenon. A pattern. A sequence of prime numbers. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, repeating every 4.7 hours. Someone was calling out to the cosmos, and we had finally answered by simply being here to listen. The signal couldn't have been triggered by our discovery. Lightspeed delay means any response would take 39 years to reach us. This signal had been broadcasting for potentially thousands of years, a cosmic lighthouse waiting for someone to notice. The beings who sent it might not even exist anymore, or they might have evolved into something completely unrecognizable. But they were there. They are real. We have proof. So now I ask you again, but with far greater weight. Which planet would you choose? Would you volunteer for the TRAPPIST Initiative, knowing you'd spend your entire life aboard a ship, never seeing the destination, but ensuring your descendants would? Would you stay on Earth, watching from afar as humanity takes its first true steps into becoming an interstellar species? Or would you advocate for isolation, arguing that some discoveries are too dangerous to pursue? The universe has revealed its secret. We are not alone. Somewhere out there, life found a way, just as it did here. Perhaps dozens of times. Perhaps millions. Every exoplanet we discuss today could be hosting its own unique biosphere, its own evolutionary masterpiece, its own story of survival against cosmic odds. The real journey isn't just about finding new worlds to escape to when Earth becomes uninhabitable. It's about understanding our place in a universe that's far more alive than we ever dared to imagine. It's about recognizing that Earth, for all its problems, is still our cradle, but every species must eventually leave the cradle to survive. For now, I'm still here on Earth, looking up at the night sky with an entirely different perspective. Those points of light aren't just distant suns anymore. They're homes, they're possibilities, they're invitations. And somewhere, 39 light years away, someone or something might be looking back. The world's brightest minds assembled at CERN, working around the clock to decode the message. Mathematicians, linguists, cryptographers, physicists, even musicians and artists were brought in, recognizing that intelligence might express itself in ways we'd never considered. After 67 days of relentless analysis, the breakthrough came from an unexpected source, a 12-year-old girl in Mumbai named Priya Sharma. While her astrophysicist mother worked on the official decryption team, Priya had been playing with the signal data on her home computer, treating it like a puzzle game. She noticed something everyone else had missed. The gaps between the prime numbers weren't random. They formed a three-dimensional matrix. When rendered visually, the matrix showed something breathtaking. A star map, not of their sky, but of ours. The TRAPPIST system had mapped our solar system with stunning accuracy, showing the positions of all 8 planets, the asteroid belt, even the Kuiper belt. But there was something else, a 9th object, positioned exactly where Earth would be, marked with a unique identifier that repeated throughout the signal. They knew where we were. They had known for a long time. The second part of the message was even more profound. It contained fundamental constants of the universe. The speed of light, gravitational constant, Planck's constant, but expressed in a mathematical language so elegant it made our notation look primitive. And embedded within these constants was something that made every scientist's blood run cold. A countdown. Not counting down to destruction or invasion. A countdown to synchronization. In exactly 847 days, something would happen. Both our worlds would align in a specific way that occurs only once every 12,000 years, creating a natural gravitational lens effect between our systems. The message was clear. This would be the optimal moment for communication, perhaps even travel. They had been waiting for us to develop the technology to hear them. And now that we had, they were giving us a rendezvous date. The revelation split humanity more deeply than any war or ideology ever had. 3 major factions emerged. The Voyagers believed this was humanity's destiny. They advocated for immediate construction of the generation ship and preparing a response message. Elon Musk, now elderly but still influential, pledged his entire fortune to the cause. "We're being handed an invitation to the greatest journey in human history," he declared. Only cowards would decline. The Guardians urged extreme caution. Led by a coalition of scientists and world leaders, they argued that broadcasting our location more actively could be catastrophic. "We know nothing about their intentions," warned Dr. Sarah Chun, head of SETI. The dark forest theory isn't just science fiction. It could be survival strategy. Civilizations that broadcast their presence might be civilizations that go extinct. The Harmonists, a rapidly growing spiritual movement, believed the TRAPPIST beings were enlightened entities meant to guide humanity to its next evolutionary phase. They established communes around radio telescopes, meditating and attempting to send consciousness-based replies to the signal. World governments tried to shut them down, but their numbers grew daily. Violence erupted. The first death came when Guardians sabotaged a transmission array in Chile that Voyagers were using to send a response signal. Then Voyagers bombed the Guardian research facility in Stockholm. The United Nations, meant to unite humanity's response, became a battlefield of conflicting interests. But amidst the chaos, something remarkable happened. While adults fought over what the message meant, children around the world began their own project. Led by Priya Sharma, now a global celebrity, and coordinated through a simple app called Hello Stars, millions of children began creating art, music, stories, and videos about Earth. Not about our weapons or politics or conflicts, but about what made life beautiful. A 6-year-old in Kenya drew her family's farm. A teenager in Brazil composed a song using sounds from the Amazon rainforest. A boy in Japan filmed cherry blossoms falling. An American girl recorded her grandmother's laugh. Children in Syria shared poems about hope written in refugee camps. The app compiled everything into a massive digital time capsule. Not a carefully curated message approved by governments, but an honest, chaotic, beautiful portrait of humanity created by those who would inherit whatever future we chose. And then, Without asking permission from any government or authority, they transmitted it. The world held its breath. Would this unauthorized transmission trigger the very disaster the Guardians feared? Would it doom humanity by revealing our primitive, chaotic nature? 39 years of waiting began. The speed of light dictates that no response could return faster than that. But the transmission changed something fundamental on Earth. The children's act of defiant hope, their refusal to let fear and violence speak for humanity, sparked a movement. People began asking, what kind of civilization do we want to be when they finally respond? What will we have to show for these 39 years? Will we still be fighting among ourselves? Or will we have become something worthy of joining a cosmic community? The Voyagers and Guardians, faced with the reality that the message had already been sent, found unexpected common ground. If we were now committed to contact, then we needed to be ready both to meet them and to protect ourselves. The TRAPPIST initiative transformed into something larger, the Humanity Project. Nations began redirecting military spending toward collaborative scientific advancement. The generation ship design evolved into 3 ships, each representing different approaches to potential contact: exploration, defense, and diplomacy. Climate change efforts intensified with new urgency. We needed to prove we could sustain ourselves before expanding to other worlds. The alignment arrived on a Tuesday. Every telescope on Earth, an orbit focused on the TRAPPIST, one system. Billions of people watched screens worldwide. The countdown reached 0. For 16 hours, nothing happened. Disappointment began to settle in. Perhaps we had misunderstood. Perhaps the message was ancient, and whoever sent it was long extinct. Perhaps. Then the James Webb Space Telescope detected it. Not another radio signal. Something far more extraordinary. A flash of light, lasting only nanoseconds, but containing more information than humanity had produced in its entire existence. The gravitational lens had indeed focused their transmission, amplifying it across the cosmic distance. When decoded, it contained complete blueprints for a propulsion system that could reach 20% light speed, solutions to fusion power that would give Earth unlimited clean energy, mathematical proofs that resolved decades-old questions in physics, medical treatments for diseases we hadn't conquered, and most remarkably, agricultural techniques that could feed Earth's population 3 times over. But the first file, the one marked with priority encoding, was simpler. It was a video. The being that appeared on screens worldwide was neither monster nor angel. It was alien, yes, bioluminescent skin that shifted colors, 3 pairs of eyes arranged vertically, limbs that seemed to serve multiple functions. But its expression, translated through body language we could somehow understand, conveyed something unmistakable. Relief. Through a series of carefully constructed images and demonstrations, it showed us their history. They had nearly destroyed themselves twice, once through environmental collapse, once through war over resources. They had spent millennia trapped in fear, suspecting hostile civilizations lurked everywhere. Their signal wasn't a beacon of conquest. It was a message of hope, sent in desperate loneliness. When they detected our radio leakage a century ago, they had debated just as we had. Some wanted to hide. Others wanted to reach out. The optimists won, but it had taken them decades to build consensus. The video ended with the alien placing one of its hands over what we assumed was its heart, a universal gesture. Then text appeared in perfect English, translated through analysis of our transmissions. We heard your children. We were once children too, looking at the stars and wondering. You are not alone. You were never alone. And you don't have to be afraid anymore. The generation ship still launched, but now they carried ambassadors, not colonists. The journey would take 150 years. But we now had the technology to send data back and forth, to build a relationship across the light years. Priya Sharma, the girl who cracked the code, became the first human to formally study xenolinguistics, a field that hadn't existed before. She would spend her life learning to truly communicate with our cosmic neighbors, building bridges between worlds. KY 5715.01, Kepler 452b, Kepler 22b. Every exoplanet we discovered took on new significance. Were they inhabited too? Were we about to discover not just one neighbor, but thousands? Was the universe teeming with life? All of us carefully, cautiously, reaching out to the darkness? For now, Earth remains my home. But it's no longer just a planet. It's humanity's proof that life is possible, that intelligence can emerge from chaos, that hope can survive against cosmic odds. Those 7 worlds of TRAPPIST-1, once just dots of light and data, now represent something profound, the end of cosmic loneliness. Every human alive will die before our ships arrive, but our children's children will walk on alien shores and shake hands, or appendages, with beings who dreamed the same dreams we did. We looked up and asked, "Is anyone there?" And across 39 light years of darkness, someone answered, "Yes, we've been waiting for you." The journey isn't over. It's only just beginning. Welcome to the universe, humanity. We have so much to explore together. But the universe, as we were about to learn, had been listening far more carefully than we ever imagined. 6 months after the TRAPPIST response, something unprecedented occurred. Radio telescopes detected a second signal, this one from Kepler, 452b, that Earth 2.0 we discussed earlier. Then a third, originating from a previously unexplored system 89 light-years away, in the constellation Draco. Then a fourth, a fifth. Within 2 years, we had detected deliberate transmissions from 17 different star systems. The galaxy had been watching, waiting, not with hostile intent, but with careful observation. The TRAPPIST civilization hadn't been our only neighbor. They had been our sponsor, the first to take the risk of reaching out to a young species that still possessed nuclear weapons and tribal instincts. Their message to us had been a message to others. This one is ready. This one chose hope. Dr. Chun, the former Guardian leader who had warned of the Dark Forest, stood before the UN Assembly with tears streaming down her face. "We were half right," she admitted. "The universe is indeed dangerous. But those who survive aren't those who hide in silence. They're those who build networks of trust, light years at a time. The TRAPPIST beings vouch for us, and now we're being invited to join something extraordinary." What she was describing had a name, transmitted in the subsequent messages. The Communion, not a government or empire, but a loose collective of hundreds of civilizations at various stages of development, sharing knowledge across the cosmos. Some were millions of years old. Others, like us, were newcomers, still learning to leave their cradles. The rules were simple but profound. Share knowledge freely. Never interfere with pre-contact civilizations. Defend any member facing existential threat. Respect each species' right to develop at their own pace. We weren't being colonized or conquered. We were being welcomed. The most precious gift Communion offered was access to what they call the archive, a distributed database of knowledge spanning millions of years. Every member civilization contributed their history, their science, their art, their mistakes, their triumphs. Inside this archive, humanity discovered humbling truths. We weren't special. We weren't the most advanced or unique. At least 43 civilizations had developed on planets almost identical to Earth. Hundreds more had taken wildly different evolutionary paths, but arrived at similar technological milestones. But we were lucky, extraordinarily lucky. 60% of civilizations never made it past their industrial age, destroying themselves through climate collapse or nuclear war. 20% more fell silent during what the archive called the filter, the period when artificial intelligence becomes possible. Those who survived that threshold had learned to merge with their creations rather than compete with them. Earth had come terrifyingly close to failing both tests. The archive showed us alternate timelines, quantum models of how easily everything could have gone wrong. In thousands of parallel possibilities, Earth was a dead world. We survived not because we were smarter or better, but because at critical moments, enough people chose compassion over fear. The children's message hadn't just moved the TRAPPIST beings. It had been the exact variable that shifted our probability stream toward survival. 15 years after first contact, the impossible happened. A ship appeared at the edge of our solar system. Not the TRAPPIST beings. They were still centuries away in their own journey toward us. This ship came from a civilization in the Andromeda Galaxy, so advanced that distance was barely an obstacle. They called themselves the Architects, and they had been part of Communion for over 2 million years. They didn't come to Earth directly. Instead, they requested permission to establish an embassy on the moon, respecting our need for boundaries and safety. When human ambassadors finally met them face to face through heavily protected habitats, they encountered beings that barely resembled life as we understood it. Crystalline structures that thought collectively, communicated through quantum entanglement, and existed partially in dimensions we couldn't perceive. Yet somehow impossibly, they understood loneliness. They remembered their own fear upon discovering they weren't alone. The chief architect, whose name translated roughly as patience across stars, shared something that would reshape human philosophy forever. Every species asks the same question when they look at the cosmos. Why? Why does the universe exist? Why does consciousness emerge? Why are we here? We have traveled for millions of years, spoken with thousands of species, and studied the fabric of reality itself. And we have found no ultimate answer. But we have found something perhaps more important. We have found that consciousness, yours, ours, all of ours, is the universe's way of experiencing itself. We are not accidents. We are the cosmos awakening. And every time a new civilization joins a communion, the universe becomes a little more aware, a little more alive. You are not just humanity discovering aliens. You are the universe discovering another way to exist. But not everything in the archive was hopeful. There were warnings, recorded by civilizations long extinct, about threats that even communion couldn't fully protect against. Rogue AI swarms that had consumed entire regions of space, converting all matter into computation, reality-warping entities that existed in higher dimensions, occasionally bleeding into ours with catastrophic results. And most terrifying, the silent zones, vast regions of the galaxy where every civilization had suddenly gone dark, their final transmissions cut off mid-sentence. The communion had lost thousands of member species to unknown threats. The archive contained obituaries for entire worlds, some that died in cosmic disasters, others that simply stopped responding. The galaxy was wondrous, but it was also deadly in ways humanity was only beginning to comprehend. Why tell us this? Asked President Joe of the United Earth Council, his face pale as he reviewed classified archive files. Why show us the horrors? Patience across stars responded with what might have been compassion. Because informed fear is wisdom. Ignorant fear is paralysis. You must understand what you're joining. The communion is not a paradise. It is a survival network in a dangerous cosmos. We celebrate together, but we also mourn together. And sometimes we fight together. Humanity faced a decision that dwarfed all previous ones. The communion had offered full membership, but it came with responsibilities. We would need to contribute to the collective defense, share our resources, open our world to visitors from species we couldn't imagine, accept that Earth was no longer just ours. It was part of something vastly larger. The debate raged for 3 years. Some wanted to accept immediately. Others advocated for observer status, participating but not fully committing. A vocal minority wanted to sever contact entirely, believing humanity should chart its own course. Priya Sharma, now in her 30s and Earth's leading xenodiplomat, addressed the council with words that would be quoted for generations. My great-grandmother used to tell me that the safest place for a child is in their mother's arms. But the mother who never lets the child explore the world isn't protecting them. She's crippling them. Earth is not a child anymore. We have fire and tools. We have language and art. We have love and dreams. Yes, the universe is dangerous, but staying isolated won't save us. The next asteroid, the next solar flare, the next extinction event. These threats don't care if we're part of communion or not. But if we join, we have allies. We have knowledge. We have 1,000,000 years of collective wisdom to draw from. We have friends we haven't met yet who will mourn if we fall. She paused, looking out at representatives from every nation on Earth. The real question isn't whether joining is safe. Nothing is safe. The question is, do we face the darkness alone or together? The vote wasn't unanimous. It never could be. But 71% of Earth's population, in the most democratic decision humanity had ever attempted, chose membership. On January 1st, 2055, designated as year 1 of Earth's communion membership, the transformation began in earnest. Fusion reactors based on communion designs replaced fossil fuels within a decade. Diseases that had plagued humanity for millennia were eradicated using genetic techniques from a civilization that had solved biology 2 million years prior. The Sahara bloomed green using terraforming knowledge from species that had restored entire dead planets. But the greatest changes were cultural. The first communion exchange students arrived, beings from 12 different species, each spending years on Earth learning about humanity while teaching us their perspectives. A Trappist musician collaborated with a human composer, creating symphonies that blended bioluminescent light with sound. An elderly philosopher from a methane world civilization spent her final years studying Earth's religions, finding unexpected parallels with her own people's spiritual journey. Priya's childhood friend Marcus became the first human to live on an alien world, spending 5 years on a communion outpost orbiting a neutron star where time dilation meant decades passed on Earth. He returned aged only slightly, but carrying stories of wonders and horrors that expanded human understanding of what life could be. The generation ships reached TRAPPIST, one in 2187. The reunion between humans and Trappists, broadcast across light years to the entire communion, became the most watched event in galactic history. When Ambassador Chun, descendant of Dr. Sarah Chun, embraced the Trappist ambassador with one hand while her alien friend embraced with 3, the image became a symbol of everything the communion represented. Hope, connection, the audacious belief that intelligence, wherever emerged, shared something fundamental. I'm old now. I remember when Earth felt like the only world that mattered, when the stars were just distant lights without meaning. I remember the fear when we first heard the signal, the chaos that followed, the moment we realized we weren't alone. My granddaughter, born on Mars in a colony designed with communion technology, asked me last week, "Grandpa, what was it like before, when you didn't know about the others?" I struggle to find words. How do you explain loneliness to someone who's never experienced it? How do you describe the weight of thinking you're the only conscious beings in an infinite void? It was like being in a dark room. I finally said, thinking you were alone, and then someone turned on the lights, and you realized the room was full of friends you'd never met. Some were strange, some were scary, but all of them were reaching out, hoping you'd reach back. She thought about this, her eyes modified slightly from Mars's lower light, reflecting the stars visible through our dome. "I'm glad you reached back, Grandpa. So am I, sweetheart. So am I." Somewhere out there, KY 5715.01 still orbits its orange dwarf star, possibly hosting life that has evolved for 70 billion years. We've sent probes, but it will be centuries before they arrive. The anticipation is delicious. Kepler, for 52b civilization, responded to our messages just last decade. They're younger than us, still debating whether to join the communion. We've been asked to mentor them, to share our experience. The irony isn't lost on anyone. Humanity, the newcomers, now welcoming someone even newer. And Kepler, 22b, that water world we dreamed about? The communion has confirmed it hosts life, but not intelligent life. Yet, the archive suggests consciousness might emerge there in another 50 million years. The communion has designated it a protected world. We'll be watching, waiting for the day those ocean dwellers look up at their sky and wonder if anyone else is out there. Perhaps one day, they'll hear a signal, a pattern of prime numbers, repeating across the void. And perhaps, like us, they'll choose to answer. The universe is vast. It's dangerous. It's lonely in ways that can break your spirit. But it's also filled with wonders beyond imagination, with friends waiting in the darkness, with the possibility that consciousness, fragile, improbable, miraculous consciousness, can not only survive but thrive. We looked up at the stars and asked the oldest question in existence, "Is anyone there?" And the answer changed everything. Yes, we're here, all of us, together. Welcome home, humanity. You've been missed.